Welcome to Fight News Now Extra. I'm John Pollock, coming at you in the wake of UFC 159, one of the most bizarre shows in company history. We're going to run down all of the highlights and lowlights from the show with John Ramdeen and Robin Black. But up first are your headlines. Jon Jones did what was expected on Saturday night, stopping Chael Sonnen with 27 seconds remaining in the opening round as he bowled him against a cage with numerous strikes to get the TKO victory. Lost in the adrenaline was the realization that Jones had suffered a compound fracture of his left toe, which was shown in graphic detail on the broadcast. Michael Bisping earned a technical decision over Alan Belcher after cutting the eyelid of Belcher with less than a minute remaining in the fight on Saturday. Bisping was commanding the lead as they deferred to the judges' scorecards, who all had Bisping winning the fight. He did note afterwards that he will need surgery on his neck for a nagging issue that is affecting the strength in his right arm, but hopes to fight 2 more times this year. Roy Nelson earned the knockout of the night on Saturday, flooring and stopping Czech Congo at 2:03 of the opening round. It was Nelson's 3rd straight victory, with all 3 being first-round knockouts. One of the most debated topics on the show was the decision by official Kevin Mulhall to stop the Ovince St. Preux versus Jean Vellante fight after Vellante was poked in the eye and told Mulhall he could not see, and ended the fight rather than having a doctor check on Vellante, who was furious afterwards. For more, we hear from Dana White following the card.
Stop the fight, you send a guy to a neutral corner, you have the doctor come in and check him out, and the doctor determines whether he's able to fight or not. That's what should have happened. The guy said, "Can you see?" He said, "I can't see." So he stopped the fight and he's like, "I can't see because I just got poked in the f***ing eye. Give me a minute." But apparently what Joe Silva was telling me was that there's no poke in the eye rule here. If you get kicked in the groin, you got 5 minutes to recover from it. There's nothing in the rules about a poke to the eye. Because in boxing, there is no poke to the eye. Guys don't get poked in the eye anymore in boxing.
And Leonard Garcia dropped his 5th straight fight on Saturday with a unanimous decision loss to Cody McKenzie. I spoke to Garcia immediately after the fight, who was prepared to leave the organization.
I had to look to see, where the fights that are going to bring me right back are. For me to want to stay in the UFC right now would be the wrong choice for me, I think. That's 5. There's no way that I could justify to the other fighters that are back here and work hard that have, been cut off for 1 or 2 losses. I need to go and figure out why this happened tonight and make a comeback. I compete with all the best guys at the gym. I'm one of the top guys in the gym. I know I'm better than Cody. I know I'm a better fighter than I fought tonight. I don't know why I couldn't pull the trigger.
And we are here with John Ramdeen and Robin Black, all of which took in UFC 159 on Saturday night. And certainly a weird card, guys. I mean, right down till the end with Jon Jones' injury. We had 2 stoppages from eye pokes. We had another busted up thumb that ended a fight prematurely. Just a very bizarre night overall when we look back at it.
Sure, I agree, but I mean, this is fighting. You're going to expect to get broken bones and broken hands. We've seen it for years and years and years. And what we know about fighting is even if you win the fight, doesn't mean that you're going to come out unscathed. The perfect example of that is Jon Jones almost breaking his toe off in the main event.
Yeah, and it is kind of a weird combination of all of these things, and it's just a mathematical anomaly that all of this kind of stuff happens on the same night. But truthfully, it does remind us just how dangerous this is. You go in, we get used to guys hitting each other and kicking each other in the head and stuff. Let's not forget, these are athletes competing in a very dangerous sport for our entertainment.
And, if you're a fan of the what-if game, which I love, had that fight gone 27 more seconds, I mean, we would have had another Randy Couture, Vitor Belfort situation with Chael Sonnen leaving Newark, New Jersey as the light heavyweight champion of the world.
Can you imagine this guy bragging about breaking the bones of Jon Jones? It would have been crazy. The right guy won, obviously, and the right result happened. In a bizarro world, Chael Sonnen being the champion would be fascinating, but Jon Jones is the best in the world.
Sticking to the main card, I mean, obviously, a number of guys certainly improving their stock. Roy Nelson falls into that mix, and a guy that I think a lot of people were not expecting to win, at least for me, was Pat Healy, who leaves with 130 grand in bonuses.
So clearly what we've learned is that over the last number of years, the UFC fighters were the subpar fighters in comparison to the WEC and Strikeforce. Gilbert Melendez, Josh Thompson, and now Pat Healy with absolute spectacular performances. And of course, I'm only joking about that. It just shows you that just because you fight in the UFC doesn't mean you're the best fighters in the world. And conversely, just because you don't fight in the UFC doesn't mean that you can't compete with some of the best fighters on the planet.
There's a lot of good theories as to why these guys can come in and do that well. You know, when you get to the UFC and you're 8-0 and you're a pretty talented kid, you're not really ready for that. You go in and you compete in the WEC or Strikeforce for a few years. When it comes time to step up, you're only stepping up a very small level and you're mentally ready. Leonard Garcia lost that fight because he wasn't mentally ready to win that fight. Belcher lost his fight because he wasn't mentally ready to win that fight. And Healy won that fight because he was absolutely mentally ready to do it. So much of this is mental, and the Strikeforce guys, they get prepped for this. And when they go in and it's their time to perform, they can do it.
Yeah, you bring up Alan Belcher here, and you've got to imagine that with a second straight loss here, that middleweight division, it gets really clogged up really fast. I mean, that very detrimental, especially for a guy that, you know, this late in his career.
Yeah.
I don't think we're ever going to see that guy in that championship mix. This was must win, I thought, for both guys in hopes of getting that elusive title.
Well, you never
shot
know.
down
I mean,
the road.
Alan Belcher is still young. He still has so many years if he wants to compete at the highest level. He works with one of the best camps in the world in Rufasport. I know he has that affiliation there. He just has to be mentally ready to have some of these big fights. You know, he put a lot of the pressure on himself, you know, trash talking against one of the best trash talkers in the game. And when you put that type of pressure on yourself, you have to.
Is that brilliant strategy on Bisping's part to put him into that discomfort?
100%. Michael Bisping is an expert at it. Everybody's trash talked him. He's got used to the pressure, used to dealing with it. We had Tito Ortiz, and he talked about that. I mean, this is something, it's a very real thing. The mental stress is a very real thing, and Bisping won that mental game.
There you go. It was UFC 159, a strange show, but an interesting show. More Fight News Now Extra is coming your way.